So you've printed out your pattern pieces. Hopefully you've done pages 1 to 36. First up, if you haven't already done it, we need to double check our 10 centimetre test square. Just measure with a ruler and double check that it's right on 10 centimetres, both in the length and in the width. Next, we're going to cut across the bottom of the page and along the right hand side of the page. We're going to focus on matching up these registration points. It's a lot easier if you turn the page to the side, and then you can concentrate on seeing that exact line that you're cutting if you're right-handed. Keep turning the page around as you need to, so that that cutting line is right straight in front of you. Now, as we've got 6 lots of 6, this first 6 pages, we're just cutting along the bottom and along that right hand side. Once you get to page number 6, and every page that's divisible by 6, we don't need to cut along that right side edge because that's the edge of our layout. It's a good idea not to cut more than one piece of paper at a time. Sometimes these papers might move, so you won't get an accurate cut. When you get to the last row, numbers 31 to 36, you don't need to cut the bottom edge of your paper because that's the outside of your layout. You just need the right hand side edges cut on number 31 to 35. Pile all your pieces together in a big stack. And we can recycle all our cut-off pieces into the recycling bin. You will need either sticky tape or a glue stick to stick the patterns together. So if you slide the top page over to the left, line it up at the bottom and at the top, then I like to put a weight down on the top of my sticky tape, and then I stick the bottom edge together and then the top edge. Also stick some sticky tape inside the pattern area. Just watch that these lines flow from your pattern piece across where the join is in your paper. Continue along the whole row until you've got 6 sheets attached together, and then slide it under the previous row and start on the next row. Where you've got sections of pattern that's the whole piece of paper, you might need 2 or 3 sections of sticky tape to hold the pattern together. Keep sliding each row under the previous row so we can stack them up until we get to the very end. Once you're on the last row, you'll notice there's sections of paper that we will be discarding, so you can just stick the top and the bottom of the page and the pattern pieces together and not worry about using too much tape. Right, so we have all of our rows stacked up together. We're going to work on the closest row nearest to you first. So we start at each end and start the tape at one end and then the other end, and then we put a tape on each join of the paper. You can hang the paper over the edge of the table because it does take up a lot of space. Make sure that each join is taped. So on each A4 piece of paper you will have tape either on the corner of the paper or in the pattern pieces close by. Sometimes if you're a millimetre out on some of the squares, by the time you get to the end of the row the pattern won't match, so you may have to readjust to get the pattern lines flowing from one page to the other. Well done if you've got this far. You've pasted your first pattern together. Now we're ready to cut it out. So I'm just going to cut out the pieces closest to me, working around with my scissors to my right hand side. Try to cut out on a table or a flat surface with the bottom blade of your scissors actually on the table. Sometimes you might like to slice through another part of the layout and then reposition the pattern closer so that you can see exactly on that line and it's right in front of you. Hold the paper still with your left hand and cutting with your right hand. Move the paper as you need to get around the shape. You can see here as I just lift up the corner of the pattern as I'm cutting around the curve, so I can manipulate that pattern and still have an accurate line that I'm cutting. Making sure that you're cutting all the layers of paper as you go. Make sure you keep that left hand side visible so you can see the line as you're cutting it. Stack up your pieces you've already cut out on top of the ones that you're yet to cut out and manoeuvre it around so you can cut out the next pattern piece. Work your way around all of your pattern pieces. Don't worry about cutting the notches just yet. We'll do that when we get to cutting out the fabric. We just need to cut each individual piece so that we're ready to place that on top of the fabric. When you're cutting on the line, make sure that you're on the outside edge of the line and not on the inside edge of the line. This gives a more accurate cut. Here you can see I'm cutting around the outside edge of 2 pattern pieces and then go back and do the inside lines after. If you're cutting along the inner edge of the black line, cutting more ink off, then your pattern piece is going to get smaller and it won't be as accurate. Once you've finished all your pieces, turn them over, and it's a good idea to sticky tape the back pieces as well. This stops the pieces catching each other when you stack them all together. Now you're all set to cut out your fabric. Thanks for watching Margot Bell Designs. I hope it was a nice informative video for you. See you all again next week. Bye for now. So enjoy.